Hey, babe. Yes. Is your name Deathwish Coffee?
Hey everybody. Just wanted to come on here and address a couple of issues that um, from a couple of posts that I made about the uh, what's going on with SNSN and I think I can clear that up. So I'm going to go ahead and do so right now. So I'm going to throw a couple of pictures one at a time up on the screen here. A lot of people have been reacting to a post, and I say post, a singular post, when there actually were more than one. And I'm getting texts, and I can understand, where people would think, um, uh, certain things about what's going on at the station and everything. But I want to put this out there and clear it up, so all of the folks that enjoy what we do can hopefully we can So what happens, I got the window open and the pollen's getting me. We can go on and continue to serve Eastern Connecticut, and we appreciate that. And for the people that don't like us, and give them some information that they just might hate. So anyway, here we go. So the first post I put up was this one right here. And it says 6/7/21. It says SNSN will never be the same ... ever. Now, if it's never going to be the same, right, it must mean that it's going to exist. It doesn't say anything about where it's going or anything like that. It just says we'll never be the same. And if you notice and go back to it, it says SNSN, just SNSN. That'll make sense in a second. So the second post that was put up was this one. And it says 6/7/21, same date, right? Same date as this one right here. And it says SNSN radio ends. Again, SNSN radio. So I think y'all probably figured it out by now. We're dropping the radio part, and the reason is simple, and I've had the same thought for the last 6-7 years that we've been on with Wolverine Radio, and then of course now subsequently SNSN. When I started the whole thing, I was surrounded by some really great people and got a lot of great information. Al Gear being one of them. He was a wealth of knowledge that I couldn't have done anything without. So Al was a big catalyst for all of us. People like Jim Barney in town. If you go to meetings or whatever, you know him. So anyway, when I started the station, the first thing people asked me, they said, "Well, do you do news?" And it was a hobby. It was just nothing more than a hobby. And I said, yeah, sure. And no, I hadn't done any news. So I started trucking it down to different meetings and, putting news reports up. And next thing you know, people are listening. So I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Now, I had just left a career with Verizon Wireless at that time. Now, just so you know, I didn't work for like any of the resellers or anything like that. I worked, for the company. I started in Meriden, actually, in one of their marketing teams. So, so it was a hobby. That's how it started. And then after that, I went to a businessman's meeting at the VFW in Jewett City, or I think it's still in the borough, really. And I made a contact there who I am completely indebted to, and that's Kevin Merchant from the Jewett City Savings Bank. And they had asked me to come up and talk about what I was doing. So I figured, what the hell? So I did. Now, I'm the kind of guy that, I can sit in front of a camera, when no one's around and a microphone, and I can talk for days. But if you put me in front of a group of 50, 100 people, like I seize right up. That was the same way and even when I did DJ gigs, I was petrified. So there's a little history on me. I'm a nervous wreck half the time, and a lot of anxiety. I try not to let it show, but sometimes it does. So I gave a speech, lasted about 15 minutes, and Mr. Merchant led me through pretty much the whole presentation. He was right there, and we went and had a beverage afterwards, and he gave me an idea what he thought this town needed and whatever. So I said okay, and he earned my respect right away. So next thing you know, I'm setting up camp at the Jewett City Savings Bank Studios, which is right on Main Street, right across from Dean's Corner. Again, totally indebted to the Jewett City Savings Bank and Kevin Merchant. So with that being said, I started getting more equipment and doing more things and being more serious about the whole thing. And next thing you know, boom, we're Wolverine Radio, and I didn't even know what to call it, to be honest with you. I was sitting at my table one day, and I was looking at my ex-wife's son, my son-in-law, who I love him to pieces, and I still see him, Dane. And I said, Dane, and he was like 13 years old. And I said, Dane, what am I going to do? What am I going to call this thing? And he goes, Wolverine Radio, and boom, there it is. So, so I started getting a couple of advertisers here and there, and then things happened. And because what we really wanted to do was we wanted to provide news and sports in a market that didn't really have it. There was nobody writing for the Norwich Bulletin in this area. They had one girl who was super, but she left and went to a different area, and nobody was writing or doing anything for Griswold, Lisbon, Canterbury, Plainfield, Sterling, Voluntown. So I wanted to not so much capitalize. My whole goal was really just to get information, because I was always that guy that was like, how come I don't know anything? How come nobody knows anything of what's going on? And then people like to blame people down town hall and stuff. Well, it's not their fault. If you don't go to a meeting, you're not going to know. But then there was no vehicle to get that information to you. So I thought that I could go ahead and fit that need. And I tried like a son of a bitch for many years to do that. But this is a very, very difficult town to build engagement in. No matter what, somebody's got something good to say and somebody's got something really nasty to say. And I've been able to deal with all of it. Sometimes probably not the smartest way, but I always defended my post. So about a year and a half ago, while we were still at Wolverine Radio, I got a call from Steve Cravino, who's the athletic director at Griswold High School, and he says to me, he goes, I don't know why, but I'm getting a call from the New London Day wanting to know if they can carry our audio for the Thanksgiving Day game, Griswold and Plainfield. And I just kind of chuckled and I said, why would he call you? And he goes, well, he thought the school system actually owned the radio station. I went, ew. Okay, well, that makes sense. So at that point, I knew I had to change the name, had to go separation church and state, just because I wanted people to know that we owned it. We ran it, and we were the ones, not the town, not the school. And also, I didn't want people to feel responsible or the school to feel responsible for what we did. Because, no matter what, and we wanted to make sure people knew that the school didn't, or the town didn't own Wolverine Radio. So we made the change to SNSN, which stands for the Streaming News and Sports Network. And pretty much everything stayed the same. You can see the where is it, right up? I can't even point to it. There we go. Because everything's backwards when you do these things. Right there, you see it. It's in the corner. John Hansen from Camaro Signs came up with that logo, and I just thought, wow, that really works. It's exactly what I thought that it should be, and he did that. So if you need signs done, go to Camaro Signs, banners, all that stuff. If you need soda, go to Avery's in New Britain. They're amazing. That's sarsaparilla. People can't even get sarsaparilla anymore. So, all right, moving on with the story is it's kind of a culture shock when people are used to one thing, especially in a small town. If you're used to Wolverine radio and gets becomes part of your vernacular, and it's like, okay, well, this is who they are. And then all of a sudden, boom, they're SNSN. Who the frick are they? And I did go through that. We had to go through a sign change, and everything on our car got changed, and that was the first part. But the programming stayed the same. We did sports, and we did news on every single hour. We updated our app accordingly. So that was the first part of it, was the name change. The second part of it was to change up the format a little bit. And so we got away from like, top 40-ish kind of stuff and moved into 70s, 80s, and 90s classic rock and roll, because it's hard for me to even digest the fact that 80s and 90s music is classic rock and roll now. Back when I was a kid, it was the 50s. That was classic stuff, and 60s. So I'm like, what? I said, this is the new classic. And I went, okay. So we went with that. We went with 70s, 80s, and 90s music. What I noticed is radio is a funny business. It's a very funny business, and people don't care about. You may think you do, but when it comes to like listening to a radio and stuff like that, it's background noise. People are listening basically to the radio for, I guess you could say like news talk and interviews and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of hard, when you want to stay local and you don't really want to branch out, because you want to remain local for anybody that is listening to or watching. So we increased the amount of interviews and stuff that we did in the morning. And we increased our sports programming. And then the pandemic hit. And no, Baby Shark, just say I gotta take a quick break here, and just to say, Mikey Mercer said, did you turn off Baby Shark yet? No, I did not. 67 hours of Baby Shark on SNSN. Just fire the app up, you'll hear it. Matter of fact, you don't have to. I'll show you. There's a reason why I did this too, so you know. Come on, Jim. There's Al Gear right there. The app broke from replay. So the pandemic hit. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I had to make a decision. And one of the things that I had to make a decision on was, do we go ahead and remain what we're doing? Or do we go ahead and actually become a subscription service? Well, there were people that understood it, and the people that didn't understand it, they were very vocal about it. And I get it. I understand. But if we were going to go ahead and be able to continue to do what we do in this town, which I'm glad most people that have listened and read our posts and everything are happy with what we do, which is very flattering to me. It means a lot. And I just, it was something that I had to do. And we had a lot of people jump on board. I was charging a ridiculously low rate, which as the pandemic moved on and everything. And then I ended all subscriptions because I kind of felt bad, taking, anything. But I, in during a you know, a national or worldwide pandemic. So I just tried to keep on going, and we did from month to month to month. And then I'm going to be honest, something that really, really pissed me off. And this is personal, and when it comes, to business, and I hope you understand what I'm going to say. And this is nothing against anybody, but when I was struggling with the station and thinking about I had to go to some sort of a subscription model, and people were complaining about that, yet they were given $50 to a Mexican restaurant that didn't even stay open. I tried to even call her and say, hey, look, I have an idea that, would go ahead and, get you some operating capital. And then she goes, oh, you're the advertising guy. And I said, well, it's one of the things we do. She goes, well, I'm not buying any advertising. I said, I'm not trying to sell you any advertising. I'm trying to give you an idea that might be able to help you build capital. And the idea was simply sell some gift cards, that had circumstances on them. Meaning if you bought a $50 gift card, you could only use 25% of it a month over 4 months. That way they would have some operating capital. And then she turned around and said, just go to the GoFundMe, is what she said. She didn't even want to hear the idea. And then I got this emoji. So I guess I had a real problem. I'm like, wow, we've been in this town for 6 years trying to get information out and just trying to do the right thing. And then everybody's like flocking. It was like, it really pissed me off, I'll be honest with you. So that's why there you go for the subscription service. And they're not even here. And I'm sorry they're not here, but I just think there was just too much drama around that. So we ended the subscription service because of that. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's coming back. There's no way possible that we can survive, or anybody, any business in this ecosystem can survive at all. We had a comment last night, which I think probably some of you read my reply about how basically they thought it was ridiculous, and they thought my business was going to end because people were just going to get pissed off. And I, kind of went off on him and said, when's the last time you walked in and got a gallon of milk and a loaf of bread and walked out and said, yep, it's for me and I'm entitled and I get to have this. And it doesn't happen, and then I'm sure this person isn't, going to work and punch in the clock for free, but I guess I'm expected to. And I don't know why. So if somebody can tell me why, I would really like to know. Then another person said, well, you're using a free format or a free platform, meaning Facebook. Yes, but I'm also using Instagram. I'm also using TikTok. I'm also using YouTube. I'm also spending $35 in gas to go broadcast a Granby Grizzled baseball game in East Granby. It's not free. I couldn't get that, entitlement for that. We have rent. We have all sorts of expenses, things that if I sat here and reeled them off, you may not even like licensing, music licensing, and that kind of stuff, and how that all works. These are all expenses, and yet I have people breathing down my throat telling me, no, you shouldn't be charging for this. But, well, okay, fine. But, if you're going to do that, and I think it's because I'm really accessible. People know how to, get me. They'll instant message me and they'll do whatever. But call the Norwich Bolton, call the New London Day, call the Hartford Courant, call, anybody, the New York Times. There's one I'm trying to think of right now, the Hartford Courant. I said that. Anyway, it's a lady that runs a website, and she's all subscription only too. And we have to. We just have to do it. So here's the thing. If you look at these two pictures, once again, that I'm going to bring up, and folks, I don't want you to think that I'm bitching and moaning. I'm not. I feel incredibly blessed to be able to go ahead and serve anybody in this community and give them information. Connecticut News Junkie. Thanks, Scott. Anybody in this community that has, allowed me to give them some information, about something that changed, the way they look at, our little town, for the good or for the bad. Either way, you can't have it both ways. But so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you this again. If you take a look, it says SNSN radio ends on 6/7/21. That is very, very much fact. This one right here, which was actually posted first, says SNSN, not SNSN radio. Will never be the same ever. And that is true. And that brings me to my final point of when we changed our name, it was a process. It was an absolute process. And the last thing that I wanted to address is that about the name change and where we're going with this is SNSN, Streaming News and Sports Network. There's nothing there that says radio. There's nothing there that says music, because I don't believe people listen to the radio for music. They listen to Spotify. They go to YouTube, Pandora, Alexa, all these great services. That's where people are getting their music from. Satellite radio in the car. They're not getting it from 106.5 WBMW, great station, but you know what? Between them and CTY and a lot of their great stations, but most times, like us, it's background noise. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to somebody and say, "Oh, you listen to BMW? Oh, I know a couple people that work there, and they're really, really nice, and they're friends." And Sean Murphy, I've known for years, and but I want you to tell me the last 3 songs you heard. And nobody could ever give me an answer to that question. So there you go. So here's what we're going to do. Somebody in my house is freaking out because there's a rainbow. Where's the rainbow? Oh. So, anyway. No, Sean, you're not old school. Sean Peterson says, I'm old school for listening to the radio. See, the other thing is that we people equate radio to that thing in the car. They don't equate it to listening to us on Alexa. They don't equate it to listening to Pandora on your Google Home device or your Facebook Home or whatever. So, yeah, Steve, I want to find the pot of gold. And by the way, Steve, I got to tell you, you are, since you are here, I've been, and I've said this to you a million times, Steve, but we're going to make it 1,000,001. Steve Cravino is the athletic director at Griswold High School, and he has allowed us to go there and basically abuse that school and go ahead and broadcast the games, and they just opened their doors to us. So, and I couldn't have done it without the help of Steve Cravino. And Steve also opened doors for us with other athletic directors, all really throughout Connecticut. So, Steve, you have my heart always, pal, because I couldn't have done a lot of this without you. So anyway, I keep ADDing myself out of the conversation, but here's what's going to happen and what we're going to do. We are going to be dropping music during the days on SNSN. We're not going to be called SNSN Radio anymore. It's too much of a mouthful. It's just SNSN. We're not a radio station. We're a media company. That's really what we are. We do a lot of production work. We team up with companies like Platinum Gear Productions. We ran sound in the borough for the latest parade just this past Monday. People don't know that stuff. We stream funerals, for Christ's sakes. We do a lot of things. We're not just a radio station. And people ask me, and I say, yeah, we're not really a radio station. We do a bunch of stuff. So we're going to go ahead. We're still going to do interviews, and we're still going to go ahead and bring information and stuff, from first selectmen, in the 45th district in the towns. We're definitely going to do that. We're going to bring in the Department of Health. And we're going to bring in kids from the schools. We're going to bring in little leaguers, just like we always have. And we're going to continue to do that because we're fans. We're fans of Griswold. We're fans of Voluntown, Lisbon, Plainfield, Kevin Cunningham, another guy that's been in our corner since the beginning, and Sterling. These are, and I know I'm rambling now, but we want to continue to do all these things, but we have to do it in a certain way, or else it's just not going to happen. And it's not that I'm not sitting here telling you, send me money, because I don't want your money. I want you to find value in our service. And I really hope that you do find value in our service. And that's what it's really about. I'm not a price guy. Price doesn't mean shit, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter what it is, what the price is. If you find value in it, you're going to buy it. I don't mean us. I'm talking about maybe a car or a loaf of bread, or, why do you go to Aldi and, and spend 68 cents, on a dozen eggs? Because there's value. So we hope that we can go ahead and we can give you value from what it is that we do. So SNSN radio is going away. SNSN is still going to be there. And matter of fact, we're going to have a whole bunch of different stuff that we've never done before. We're going to have we're going to have a word of the day every single day. Business Minute. We got Lou Dobbs on board now to do the Lou Dobbs Business Minute. So we get two different business minutes. We're going to do local news. We are going to be doing national news. We're going to be doing local sports. We're going to be doing national sports. We're going to be doing this day in history. Of course, weather. It goes on and on and on and on, and it's all going to be talk. It's no more music, because what we want to do is exactly what our name says: streaming news and sports. It doesn't say anything about music. This is the last part of our transition, and I swore I wouldn't do this. But we love this town. And we want to be able to provide that. So I hope you go ahead and continue, because I'll be there for you and letting you know until I'm not here anymore. So I hope you enjoy the changes. Thank you for listening to me for the last 30 minutes. We're real passionate about what we do, obviously. So new format Monday morning. Go listen to Baby Shark. It's playing for 67 hours right now. All weekend long. Just because I want to be a jerk. I put that on there. So thank you. I truly do love all of you. And we'll see you Monday